1. Before the Revolution, why did America want independence? In the early 1700s, there were 13 British colonies in North America, including Virginia, Massachusetts, New York, and Pennsylvania. These colonies were ruled by Britain, but had a sense of independence. Britain controlled them, but they mostly handled their own affairs. However, between 1754 and 1763, Britain fought a war against France called the French and Indian War. Britain won, but the war left the country heavily in debt. To recover money, Britain started taxing the American colonies, and that's when things got heated. 2. Why were the colonists angry? The British government imposed heavy taxes without asking the colonies for approval. But the American colonists had no representatives in the British Parliament. So they started protesting with the famous slogan, "No taxation without representation." Here are some key events that fueled the anger. Stamp Act, 1765. Britain placed taxes on newspapers, legal documents, and even playing cards. The colonies were furious and boycotted British goods. Boston Massacre, 1770. British soldiers shot and killed 5 American protesters in Boston. This escalated tensions. Boston Tea Party, 1773. In response to a tea tax, American colonists disguised as Native Americans boarded British ships and dumped tons of tea into the Boston harbor. Britain was outraged and responded with harsher laws. 3. The Revolution begins, 1775. The first shot is fired. Tensions exploded on April 19, 1775, in the towns of Lexington and Concord, Massachusetts. British soldiers tried to seize colonial weapons, but American militias resisted. Gunfire broke out, the first shots of the American Revolution. The Declaration of Independence, 1776. A new nation is born. On July 4, 1776, the Declaration of Independence, written by Thomas Jefferson, was signed. This document boldly declared that the American colonies were no longer under British rule. But Britain refused to let them go without a fight. 5. How did the Americans win? The Americans were led by General George Washington, but Britain was the world's most powerful empire. The key to America's victory? Help from France. The Battle of Saratoga, 1777, was a major turning point. America won, and France officially joined the war against Britain. Then, in 1781, at the Battle of Yorktown, American and French forces surrounded the British Army. Britain surrendered, marking the war's end. 6. The aftermath. America is officially free. In 1783, the Treaty of Paris was signed, officially recognizing the United States of America as an independent nation. The American Revolution changed history forever, inspiring future revolutions around the world, including the French Revolution. It was not just a war for independence. It was a war for democracy and freedom. But what if it had failed? What if the British had crushed the rebellion and the United States never came into existence? 1. Continued British rule in the colonies. Without the Revolution's success, the colonies would have remained under British rule, continuing to pay taxes and follow British laws. Tensions would still be high, but the British would likely have made some concessions to avoid outright rebellion. The colonies would have faced growing political unrest and economic strain, but no full-blown war. Over time, the British Empire would likely have tried to strengthen their hold, implementing even more direct control over colonial governance. 2. A prolonged struggle for freedom. If the colonies hadn't won, independence movements would have continued to simmer beneath the surface. Over the years, uprisings would likely have continued, fueled by dissatisfaction with British rule. Leaders like George Washington, Thomas Jefferson, and Benjamin Franklin might have led smaller rebellions, but without the unity and strength provided by the successful revolution, these movements would have struggled to gain momentum. 3. Economic stagnation or growth under British rule. With Britain maintaining control, trade policies and taxes would likely have remained harsh. However, Britain might have tried to integrate the colonies more fully into their global economic system, bringing in more infrastructure, investments, and trade deals. The economic growth of the colonies might have been slower, but they would have eventually become a more important part of the British Empire's global network, potentially leading to a more industrialized society. But at what cost? 4. No United States of America. A different global power dynamic. Without the creation of the United States, North America would look very different. The British Empire would have a far stronger foothold, and the colonies might have been further integrated into their global empire, not unlike the way Canada and Australia were eventually treated. Without the American influence, France's revolution might not have had the same ripple effect across Europe, and the political ideals that America birthed, such as democracy and liberty, would have spread much more slowly, if at all. 5. A stronger British Empire in the 19th century. Had America remained a colony, the British Empire could have retained its position as a dominant world power, possibly even shaping the industrial and colonial policies of the 19th century. The British could have utilized the American colonies as a key source of resources, leading to more control over the Industrial Revolution, and perhaps a different outcome in Europe's power struggles. 6. Slower technological and political progress. Without the American Revolution, the New World's democratic ideals might have been delayed. The political shift that America sparked in the late 18th century, with its democratic structures and constitution, might have been slower to spread. Countries around the world would have continued to grapple with monarchies, and technology might have evolved at a different pace. 7. The impact on the Civil War and the future of slavery. If America never achieved independence, the question of slavery in the colonies would have remained under British control. While Britain abolished slavery in the 19th century, the lack of an independent American government could have led to the continuation of slavery in the colonies, perhaps even delaying its abolition. A stronger, unified British colony might have been able to control its economy differently, but the social and political unrest would have continued to build. Had the American Revolution failed, the world we know today would be drastically different. The shape of global power, politics, and society would have followed a very different trajectory, one dominated by Britain. The ideals of liberty, democracy, and independence may not have had the same widespread impact, and many of the freedoms we take for granted today might have been delayed or never fully realized.